For exactly 8 decades, the United States military held a rigid doctrine when it came to unidentified objects in our airspace. The protocol was simple: classify, redact, and deny. When civilians looked up and saw something they couldn't explain, the official responses were famously dismissive. Sightings were categorized as weather balloons, swamp gas, or mere optical illusions to suppress any chance of public panic. Behind the scenes, the FBI quietly stockpiled thousands of incident reports. They systematically collected eyewitness testimonies and field memos, all while maintaining the public posture that the phenomenon simply did not exist. That unrelenting wall of secrecy did exactly what you would expect. It bred massive public distrust, fueling a sprawling, deeply entrenched conspiracy culture that defined the 20th century. On May 8, 2026, that 80-year wall of silence was erased. The newly rebranded Department of War suddenly dumped a massive trove of highly classified UAP files directly into the public domain. They called it the Pursue Initiative. In a single day, the government released 161 entirely unresolved files, pulling records from the FBI, NASA, and the military, and handing them straight to ordinary citizens. The drop contained historical intelligence that had been buried for generations. This included original photographic evidence from highly guarded facilities like Oak Ridge, Tennessee, dating back to the late 1940s. President Trump ordered the release under a directive of complete and maximum transparency, arguing that previous administrations had failed the public by keeping this data locked away. The true shock here is the posture of the United States government. They are not confirming that aliens exist. They are confirming their own total ignorance, stepping away from the podium of authority and telling the public, you decide. To understand what provoked this admission, we have to look inside the 161 unsealed files. The raw evidence spans decades, starting with anomalies captured in the vacuum of space. Deep in the archives are reports from the Apollo 17 mission to the lunar surface. Astronauts documented highly unusual visual phenomena, specifically noting 3 unexplained dots holding a tight triangular formation in the sky. The logs also detail modern, terrestrial encounters. In 2023, multiple teams of federal law enforcement agents operating in the western United States reported anomalous objects hovering over the desert. The agents detailed an orange, glowing orb, described in the official report as resembling the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings. They watched as this central sphere emitted smaller, red orbs in groups of 2 to 4. Then, there is the tactical surveillance data. The release includes dozens of videos captured by modern military drones operating over the Middle East and Syria. Infrared cameras tracked metallic orbs maneuvering at 80 miles per hour. These objects defy conventional physics, snapping into violent 90-degree turns without slowing down. The files offer 0 official explanations for these events. The Pentagon is simply handing over high-definition, highly credible anomalies and acknowledging that they cannot explain how these objects move. In Washington, releasing these files served a unique political utility. It became a rare point of intense bipartisan agreement. Democratic lawmakers like Senator Kirsten Gillibrand have spent years aggressively pressuring the military to unseal these records and share their findings with the American people. On the other side of the aisle, Representative Anna Paulina Luna chaired a congressional task force, openly telling the press that the hidden data contained shocking evidence of non-human technology. By opening the vault, the administration scored massive populist points for transparency. Meanwhile, Secretary Pete Hegseth and the Department of War avoid having to officially endorse any specific extraterrestrial theories. Without a government narrative, the internet caught fire. Public discourse fractured into warring camps. Intense forensic battles broke out on social media. Skeptics attribute the drone footage to bokeh effects, parallax illusions, and weather balloons, while believers see absolute vindication. Ordinary people are now actively crowdsourcing the forensic analysis. They are executing the exact kind of intelligence work that the Pentagon used to conduct strictly behind closed doors. The Pursue Initiative signals a change in the state's relationship with secret information. The government is moving away from the era of absolute narrative control. Agencies are increasingly forced to navigate an environment where withholding data creates more political risk than releasing it. The phenomenon has left the cultural fringe. The study of these objects now functions as a public data science project, fueled by raw sensor feeds and open-source intelligence. The most revealing aspect of these files has nothing to do with what is in the sky. The Department of War is signaling that, in an era of persistent whistleblowers and bipartisan pressure, confession is a more effective shield than silence. The Pentagon has found that acknowledging a national security blind spot can actually serve as a political asset. The 2026 release represents an epistemic handoff. The Department of War is no longer the sole arbiter of the unknown.